Great. Welcome everyone to Inside the Music for January of 2026. The remainder of the Fresno Philharmonic 25-26 season is even more exciting than the first part, and we're really happy to share the next Masterworks concert with you and update you on some innovative programming. And Fresno Philharmonic is getting known all over for its innovative programming, and this remainder of the season is absolutely no exception. So we have a couple of announcements, and we have very special guests, and I'll introduce first of all Rei Hotoda, the music director of the Fresno Philharmonic for the next several years. Yay! And we have another very special guest that I'll introduce very, very briefly. So thank you all for joining us for Inside the Music. So this concert is in part sponsored by Measure P, so we're grateful for Measure P. And it's great that last Inside the Music, I was coming to you from India, where we were interrupted by some really interesting Indian ads on YouTube. So it's nice to be back in Fresno, where the air is clean. So we continue with our soaring soundscapes, and we had two wonderful concerts in the fall, and we actually have four. This shows three, but that's part of the enticement here. We have four concerts coming up. So what new concert program am I talking about? I personally, as a composer and someone who likes hearing orchestra, but also hearing the members of the orchestra shine in more intimate settings. I'm so excited that the Fresno Phil is doing something new and innovative. So get out your calendars on February the 15th, which is a Sunday afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. We're doing a Sunday Serenade concert, which includes three chamber works and symphony it has minimal instrumentation. So, and I'm excited as a composer to see the works that are being performed. A relatively contemporary work called Fire Dance, I think it was 2004, and then of course Barber, who I love, another American composer, and Dvorak and Schumann. So can you tell us a little bit? Oh, actually, let me ask the audience first, because I think it would be fun. So one of the pieces is a brass quintet. Can anyone in the audience tell me the instruments that make up the brass quintet ensemble? Just unmute and chime in if you know or have a guess.
Usually two trumpets, French horn, trombone, and either bass trombone or tuba.
Okay, we have someone who knows. Well, it's a quintet, so it couldn't be two. So
I said, no, either bass trombone or tuba.
Oh, okay. There you go. Good. So that's our brass quintet, and it has to be a new person, a different person. What would make up a wind quintet, often referred to as a woodwind quintet? Anyone know?
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead and chime in. What instruments would be in a wind quintet or a woodwind quintet?
Can I call you back when it's through?
Yes, you might want to mute. So interestingly, in a wind quintet, often referred to as a woodwind quintet, you have the flute, which you would expect. You have an oboe, which you would expect, right? You have a clarinet, which you would expect, and you have a bassoon, which you would expect, but you also have an oddball instrument. What would that oddball instrument be? It's actually one of the hardest instruments to play.
That would be the French horn.
The French horn, yes. Okay, so the addition of the French horn. So that's a very unique sound, a very interesting sound. If you want to get your head full of wind quintet, I love the Ligeti quintet. It's a fabulous piece. And then string quartet, obviously, we have a couple of violins, viola, and cello. So Ray, and Stephen, tell us about your thinking about this wonderful, innovative addition to the season.
Well, I thought it would be wonderful to highlight the musicians of the orchestra that are often playing in a section, and now they get to play in a more soloistic role. So I think it's great to highlight our musicians, and chamber music is really orchestral playing, but in a much more intimate, exposed setting. And so they are still playing together. They still have to, communicate telepathically, how we communicate through music to play together. But at the same time, I think this is a great way to showcase our amazing musicians. And then we perform the Schumann Symphony No. 2, which is everyone playing together. And I know your comment was smaller instrumentation, but it is a pretty standard Beethoven instrumentation, including 3 trombones. So I think it'll be a wonderful concert.
I think it'll be a great concert, and I love that idea in that concert, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Another aspect of the innovative programming is that we have a gospel choir that's going to do a prelude to the upcoming concert. Is that correct?
Yeah. So for this weekend's concert, which it's our first concert in 2026, so celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and also on Martin Luther King Day weekend. So the program, the symphony program was very much constructed around both of those themes. And so we have some additional elements, though, that there'll be a brief prelude at the top of the concert by the Blackout Fellowship Choir, just an amazing gospel choir based here in Fresno. They are really terrific, and so they will be doing 3 selections at the top of the concert before we get into the symphony selections. And then also the terrific local actor Tony Sanders will be serving as host for the program, reading selections from the writings and speeches of Martin Luther King throughout the program, so that that both of those elements will help tie the whole theme of the program together.
I just love that. I'm just so excited to go to the concert and hear the narration and hear the prelude group so that it frames the orchestral works. I just think that's just very, very, very exciting. And so I hope everyone else is as excited as I am. I know it's going to be great. Well, let me introduce our other guest. It's the featured composer of this concert and someone that is known to Fresno. I think the last time that he was here was in 2021, and it was the very first in-person concert after the pandemic, and that is wonderful composer John Wineglass. So, John, welcome to Inside the Music, and thank you so much for being here.
Good to be here.
So I have a brief little bio here, and you can correct me if that's not correct. But you started off correct as a violist when you were young, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
And I saw somewhere that you formed a group at age 6 and started composing at that young age.
Yes, I discovered that I had perfect pitch and synesthesia as a 5-year-old. So that's what started my journey on the music journey.
Right, and synesthesia. So you see colors when you hear particular notes or chords
Or modalities more so.
Oh, modalities. So different types of scale and pitch collections.
Yes.
And you're very unique among composers, at least that I know, in that you started off in music, were prolific at it at a very young age. You had tendinitis, right? And so you started composing a little more, but then you ended up in your musical career both studying some business, correct?
Yes. Yeah, actually, I had a scholarship to the Kogat School of Business at American University. I was a finance major and wanted to work for Arthur Andersen and Lehman Brothers, which are 2 companies who are no longer with us anymore. So glad I didn't go that route.
Well, we're very glad you went the other route and ended up doing your composition work. And also, I think unique to composers of Western classical orchestra music, right? is that you also have a really, really stellar career in TV and commercial music, and have won multiple Emmys. And when did you decide that you'd move away from that a little bit and focus, because you are focused a little more now, right, on the orchestral music composition? So how did that occur for you?
Oh, when I went out to California, I reconnected with Marin Alsop, so it's all her fault. At, at the Cabrillo Music Festival and another festival called Music in May with Rebecca Jackson, who I went to Juilliard at the time I was in New York, and this festival was 40 minutes from my house, and so became really good friends with. Philip Glass and Carigliano and John Adams, all these guys, and so it just became kind of part of my cultural experience moving to California. So it was a natural segue into the concert hall.
Wow. Well, that's just really great. Would there be any of the film or TV or anything that would be widely known? I think you did some commercials that I've heard before.
Yeah, a lot of commercials, Texaco, a bunch of commercials, a U.S. Army campaign for like a decade that came out. But a lot of my television shows were daytime television shows like All My Children, As the World
Uh-huh.
Turns.
Uh-huh.
I did a
Uh-huh.
lot with CNN and MSNBC. So.
Wow. Well, that's really a storied career, and we're happy you're composing for orchestra, so we can enjoy that aspect of your creativity. Well, let's dive into the program, and Ray and John, feel free to chime in on anything that you'd like. I actually wasn't aware of. I mean, maybe I shouldn't admit it. I wasn't aware of this piece that's being programmed. I've never heard it performed live, and I was just so excited that this is being performed, and I didn't know Margaret Bonds is a composer. So I'm delighted that this is being programmed. So this is a work that she composed in 1964 that's inspired by the Montgomery bus boycott, and people know the name Rosa Parks, and the boycott began after she was denied giving up a seat on the bus. And it's dedicated to, of course, Martin Luther King Jr., and it is Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. Uh, I just have a question to pose to the audience. If you were inspired by the the Montgomery bus boycott, and you wanted to write a piece that somehow reflected what that struggle was, right? And you were dedicating it to Martin Luther King Jr., how might you go about doing that? Like if you got a commission, or it was just in your heart in 1960 or 1964 to compose this piece, and you wanted to document the struggle, or pay homage to it, how would you do that in a musical context? Hmm. What would you do? Any ideas?
Well, you could go back and find like maybe the chants that people were using as they marched and incorporate those into the composition.
Very good. You need to do more composition, Lorenzo.
Ah.
That's because that's a really great way to start, and that's what Bonds did.
Oh,
She took some spirituals that were widely sung in that movement, and the primary one is "I Want Jesus to Walk with Me," and others like "Oh Freedom." And then you do what's called a theme and variation. And for those of you that are in music, you might know that what you do is you take a piece of music, you go ahead and do it in a way that is recognizable initially, and then you start to mess with it. Mozart famously did it with "Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars," for example. Uh, and so this is the form that Bonds took in doing this, and then she has seven movements, and I think the titles are quite quite interesting.
And
Decision,
and Ben, it's
yes.
interesting for us because we are only doing the odd movements. So we're doing one,
Oh, okay.
3, 5, and 7.
Okay, so decision, March, one Sunday in the South, and then benediction.
Correct.
Okay, so
And
that would be the order.
yes, and also this is interesting to note that this is a piece that she wrote later in life. She died early 70s, 1970s, I think 71. And she had a very, very interesting life. She majored in piano and composition and went to Northwestern University in 1935. And she lived in the south side of Chicago, took public transportation every day to go to the university. Imagine doing that as a colored woman in Chicago in the 1930s. I mean, she had incredible, incredible depth and perseverance already as a young person. And so this piece is a culmination of all of her kind of endeavors as an artist. And I think it's just an incredible work. It not only has technical orchestral ability, but also has so much life and fire, and there's a uniqueness to her voice. And again, like writing this towards the end of her life, at the time that all of this was happening, is so poignant, especially today.
And so personal, since as you were saying, she was riding and taking public transportation at the same time. Well, I have these pieces queued up next, but Ray, maybe tell us in those movements 1, 3, 5, 7, what techniques is she using? Because sometimes for the listeners, like what Mozart would do in Twinkle Twinkle, sometimes he'd change the meter, sometimes he'd change the rhythm, sometimes he'd ornament the melody, so every note is a trill. What devices are apparent to you and that you see in these variations that you're doing?
Well, like you were saying, that she wanted to pay homage to these songs, these hymns, these traditional hymns that were sung in church, to, instill perseverance. So she did not. I think she did it purposely, and then this is my interpretation. She didn't purposefully manipulate the variations. She kept all of the songs intact, but she would layer them with different instruments, make it a little bit more, there's more movement, as far as like, instead of quarter notes or half notes being sung, the instruments would kind of elaborate on them, but still the meter is still the 4/4 or the 3/4, this constant deliberate march or deliberate songs that were still intact throughout the variation. So that's what's also very unique about this composition.
Yeah, and what I really like is the which will change the key or change the instruments that are accompanying or changing the instruments that are doing the melody, and that's an active variation too. Well, let's take a little listen to I want Jesus to walk with me. I think instilling that melody in your mind, everyone will help you with the piece. So I'm trying a new way, so I hope it's playing accurately.
And it's also important to know this is the first movement song.
Yes, this is the first movement song. Thank you. Okay, and then just 1 minute of Oh Freedom.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. oh. slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh.
Okay. I want to keep going, but I want to get to our special guest. And then on the program, we have George Gershwin's Piano Concerto in F and the first time appearance of Michelle Cann here in Fresno. Ray, is there something you'd like to say about this work by?
Yes. So we all know the Rhapsody in Blue by George Gershwin. This is a concerto that he really wanted to write I don't know, what you would call it, like a standard, classical concerto, but he couldn't help himself. He had to add all of his elements. And what I love about this is that it's in 3 movements. It's huge orchestration. There's lots of development. It's a typical, like you would think of a Tchaikovsky piano concerto, but he really did not go the route of a serious composer, meaning he chose to continue his Timpan Alley, his jazz elements of Paris and his time in Paris. So there's all of the elements of Gershwin that we know of Gershwin in this serious piano concerto that he wrote, the Concerto in F. And it's so full of amazing melodies. And in the first movement, you'll hear the last theme is also in the last movement as well, at the ending of the last movement. So there's all this tie-in of themes, and you can sing them, you can hum along them, and you can dance with them. And it's just an incredible, incredible work. And very,
it's a really
very
fun piece.
Challenging for the pianist.
And fun to watch them do it. Yes. And wonderful blending. And my understanding is he wrote this a year, I think, after Rhapsody in Blue. And he didn't orchestrate Rhapsody in Blue, but he did orchestrate this. So we're hearing Gershwin get his bearings as an orchestrator, not just composer. So I'm really looking forward to this piece. And George Gershwin was a first generation American. And Igor Stravinsky's Symphony in 3 Movements on an all-American concert, it might beg the question of the audience. Well, I mean, I thought Stravinsky was Russian. We think of Stravinsky as being a Russian composer. So the question is, in what ways was Stravinsky an American, and in what ways was he a Russian, and what does it mean to be an American in a way? This is the first piece he wrote actually after he came to the United States. So if you think about Stravinsky's life, here's a question for the audience. Where did he live most? Where did he reside most, the longest period of time in his life? Where was it?
Probably Paris, was it?
No.
Okay.
No. It's close to you.
Oh, really? Clovis. Yeah, okay.
Clovis.
It's not Visalia. It's not Visalia.
It's not Visalia. We're getting closer, though. We're going the right direction.
It's in California.
So Los Angeles, right? And this is the first piece he wrote after moving to the United States in 1945. And he lived in the United States for 32 years, if you add it up. And this is a gift. His music is a gift as an immigrant to the United States. And this is his residence near, it's right above Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. And it was for sale a while ago. So these are the real estate photographs. It was only $5 million. Pretty nice place for $5 million, I have to say. And if you want to drive by, which I have done, I'm giving you the address. If you want to take a picture of it, you can drive by Ella Fitzgerald's old house too. It's a wonderful thing in Los Angeles to do, to drive by these homes. So, Ray, is there anything other briefly that you want to say about that particular work?
Oh, it's an incredible, incredible piece. It's all the elements of Stravinsky's ballets. You will hear the last movement has jazz elements. The first movement has like a rumba with the piano and the strings. I mean, it's chock full of Stravinsky elements, which I think in 23 minutes it's an incredibly dense piece. But it's also a piece that he, well, first of all, there are two elements to it. So he was living in Hollywood, right, in LA, and he was asked to write some film music. And he was very much into writing serious music. And so the symphony in three movements came out of elements that he was putting together for some film. And so the second movement has these elements of, you will hear, it's very cinematic. Um, and then the second part of this piece that's really important is to know that this is music that he was writing to really not protest, but to show elements of the atrocities of war, right, of World War II. And so you will hear this kind of bombastic anger. You will hear the goose steps of, military marches in it. So there's so many elements to this and so much to listen for as an audience member. But what I really am proud of is this is one of the most difficult pieces for the orchestra to play. And yesterday's rehearsal was incredible. So, to see the arc of this orchestra growing exponentially is just extremely rewarding for me as a music director, but for all of you to hear your Fresno Philharmonic rise to this level. I just can't wait for this concert.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ray, I was a little bit surprised when I saw this on the program, and I was so happy when I saw this on the program, and my brain went back 10 or 15 years ago, and I was asking myself, what would it sound like 10 or 15 years ago? Well, I think that the orchestra is ready to do this piece and do it justice and do an absolutely fabulous job. So it's a tribute to you and your adventurous programming and work with the orchestra that they're doing this piece. So I'm thrilled. And what better way, if we're going to celebrate the beginning of the 250th year of our country's founding and Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, what better way to do that with a living American composer? I'm always thrilled. And not only a living American composer, but one that's agreed to join us and tell us about what they do. And that is John Wineglass. And his piece is Yosemite, which is being premiered by the Fresno Philharmonic and was commissioned by the Fresno Philharmonic with support from other entities. And Yosemite, which is near and dear to all of our hearts. So this is meaningful in a number of ways. And since John is a California resident now, I'll unshare my screen in one moment, but I just wanted, this is one quote from the liner notes. This work is a meditation on scale, spirit, and our fragile connection to the natural world, a reminder of how deeply we depend on the beauty we are entrusted to preserve. So welcome to Inside the Music, John Wineglass. Why do I say Winehouse? Because my neighbor is Winehouse. So anyway, sorry about that.
No worries.
So we appreciate you being here so much. So can you tell us, maybe to frame our conversation about the wonderful music that you wrote, this is in a series of works that you've done. I know you did a piece on Big Sur recently. Yeah. Have you done other national park pieces or nature?
Yes, a lot of my works.
Pieces?
A lot of my works center around social justice issues of the past and present, and also the natural elements of our planet. So I have a symphony on Big Sur. I have a piece on Bonnie Doon. I have this Yosemite piece. So a number of places that I've gone around. California in particular. I have a violin concerto on Joshua Tree. So yeah, I love California, and I was kind of that New York kind of guy that used to joke about tree huggers, and now I am a tree hugger.
So here, do you literally hug trees? Because when we go on hikes, especially in Sequoia and places like that, my wife is a bona fide, like that's her meditation, is to feel the energy of the Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No doubt.
I highly recommend it. Yeah. I think
Yes.
there's a lot of wisdom there that we can feel in some way that we can't describe.
I've literally stayed in a tree house actually in Big Sur. So yeah, I'm definitely a proponent of tree hugging.
And the treehouse, I have to ask, how high up was? Because I mean, if you're talking like how, I mean, tell me about the treehouse.
Well, my friend Jason Fan, who actually plays on the Big Sur Symphony piece, there's a 7 foot redwood drum that's used in that piece. It's a fallen redwood drum, and
Wow.
he builds these tree houses in places like Esalen, which are retreat centers down in Big Sur,
Yes.
and Tree Bones, which is even further down Highway 1. And so you can literally just stay and look at the stars at night in a treehouse, in a human nest. He calls them human
A
nest.
human nest.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. Okay. You've piqued my interest. You've taken it to another level. So
exactly.
I need to try that. And you do include also in your works, and I think this, I don't know, I'm going to ask, is it part of being in California, being in an area that was so densely populated with different indigenous tribes and peoples eons ago, in an area that was described by early Spanish what do you call them? Adventurers
Conquistadors.
is the garden, yeah, conquistador is the Garden of Eden, right? I mean,
Right.
I understand that you include indigenous aspects and indigenous spirituality and things in your work too, or that informs your work. Is that?
No, it definitely informs my work. I ran into and discovered the Esalen tribe down on my own, down in my discoveries, and that was kind of a voice that I couldn't ignore. I didn't know that the Trail of Tears, extended beyond the Mississippi River all the way to the Pacific Ocean. So it's been a phenomenal journey working with the tribe and working with the tribe all over California.
Oh, wow, wow. So let me ask you a question that I asked the listeners and watchers about the Montgomery piece.
Right.
And that is, if you're going to write a piece about Big Sur, or in this case, Yosemite, and you're trying to capture not just in a programmatic way like physical features, but the feeling of being either in the valley floor looking up at the majesty around you, or being up on the rim looking down 3,000 feet, or whatever it is after you've done the Mist Trail or the Vernal Falls Trail, or even higher, then how do you go about that in a very practical, methodological way to get that into notes?
So when you asked that question earlier, I wanted to chime in, but I thought I would wait, and then you asked it now.
Oh,
So this is
good,
great.
good, yay!
I'm a big proponent of experiencing the land, so I like to go to places and feel the earth. So the Yosemite Police kind of came with some friends, let me use a lake house that they have in Groveland, and I figured, man, I'm just this close to Yosemite. I'd never been. And I remember taking the little tour bus and coming down and seeing the large rocks of Half Dome and Capitan rise as I go down to the valley floor. That was I'm a New Yorker. We don't have big rocks like that on the East Coast, So that was the beginning of my love affair with Yosemite. And I said to myself, and this was like 2016. I was writing another piece. I was actually writing the Big Sur piece. And I said, one day I'm going to get the opportunity to explore this place musically. And so this opportunity worked out with Fresno Phil, and I'm very honored to be able to celebrate the beauty of this country in that way.
And yes, and thank you for doing it, because it's a glorious piece, and we're going to dive in. Before we play a MIDI mock-up of the piece and talk about the layout of the piece, I just wanted to let the audience know that John very graciously is not only having this piece premiered by the Fresno Philharmonic, and not only here at Inside the Music, but he's also engaged in the broader community, contributing to the Fresno community in significant ways one of those ways that I'm aware of is John has very graciously agreed to come to Fresno State tomorrow and work with the Composers Guild, which is an associated student organization of people interested in new music composition. So we really appreciate his generosity in doing that. And my understanding is you attended some Martin Luther King events while you were here too.
Yep.
Or doing at the dress rehearsal, helping the orchestra and the rehearsal. So we just appreciate your all-in contribution to the Fresno community as part of what you're doing here. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
So the piece is in 3 movements, right? And it's Midnight, Twilight, then the Ascension, and then Flight, Cessna. And maybe we could talk through each of those. The liner notes, by the way, if you get the opportunity, audience, if you get to read the extensive program notes, they really will help you because there really are very concrete ideas that are in each of these movements. So I'll go ahead and cue up the very beginning, which takes place right on the valley floor, and it's at night, right? So and I love that you, in your program notes, at least in the score, you said the softest whisper of sound, breathing in moonlight air. I think that's so beautiful. Are you sure you weren't an English major?
It's literally descriptive of what happened. So,
well, shall we play at the very beginning of that movement, and then it starts to build up right at about 2 minutes, I think you had said. So I'm afraid I have to share my ancient iTunes program for you to be able to hear the sound. So this is the very, very beginning. So try and imagine being in the Yosemite Valley floor, and it's night, and then ever so slowly things start to become a little more visible. And then I'll skip ahead to where things are ascending and becoming. So it's sort of sacrilege to scroll through like that, but we don't. So sorry. Before I ask about you to tell us about the orchestration and your ideas and how you get that feeling of rising, out of curiosity, I was hearing there's a wonderful podcast that talks to people about the production process of their music, and there's a wonderful group that plays a lot actually in the Bay and in California called Snarky Puppy. And they were talking to the leader of Snarky Puppy about his process. And he said, and he was playing little like MIDI renditions like this that then he sends to the band. Yep. And they really had horrible sounds. I mean, the sounds he used were terrible. And he said he doesn't want, the final product isn't the MIDI mock-up. And it actually destroys his creative process if he tries to make the MIDI sound like it's the final product because it locks in the performers to sounding like the MIDI rendition. And I'm just going to take a wild guess. That's my personal philosophy myself with MIDI renditions. I'm not going to spend a year making it sound like it's ready for TV or a movie. Is that your philosophy as well, that you fool yourself if your MIDI is too good?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's just as a reference for the for the client. So I don't. Yeah, typically, I'm sometimes even embarrassed to show it. So, but
No, I think it's wonderful because it allows you to imagine what it would sound like with an orchestra playing it rather than
right.
filling that imagination in. So, Ray, I would guess as an orchestra conductor, you would prefer something like this than something that's, using the greatest sound library on earth and everything is massaged, and because that locks you into
Exactly.
how you're going to interpret it, right?
Exactly. And I think, having been to Yosemite myself too, and recently we went with Jacqueline, our board chair. We went ice skating at Yosemite in December. And just that feeling of spaciousness and oh, it's just an incredible sacred place. And to hear that in music and hear John's interpretation of his, experience of Yosemite, it's really a culmination of so many aspects of individuals coming together, and that's what it is. The pieces, all these orchestral players playing together in this one idea, and that's what I love about living composers is like I can turn around and ask John last night, do you like that ritardando? Should we not add that? And things like that. And to make it come alive is what's the most incredible process.
Exactly. Making human beings making it come alive. What a concept. Human beings making it come alive. Well, let's jump maybe. Should we jump to the second movement?
Sure.
Okay. And that's called the Ascension. And there's your liner notes say that it's a passacaglia in the trombones and it builds to a big harmonic vista, right?
Yeah.
So that means that there are repetitions of the line in the trombones. And did you do the chords as well, or is it just the
line? Just the
the
line.
line? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's that beginning of that line that you'll hear a repetition of in this movement a lot. The end of the So you can hear it moving and pushing forward, and I wish I were that piccolo player. That's a great line. I love the piccolo against the trombones. That's great.
It's perfect.
And so, how do you make the ascension happen compositionally?
So with that Pascal pattern, it kind of pretty much continues all throughout, all the way to that movement is the shortest movement of them all, and then it just ascends and the orchestration grows with more instruments and more counterpoint and things that are happening to make it pretty thick, and then we kind of end on a huge C chord. I wish I could have had more time. I could have wrote another 15 minutes of this piece, but we only had 15. So I cut it short here with a C major chord going.
And what's amazing, John, is that this piece is on the second half with the Stravinsky,
Yeah.
and at the end of the first movement of the Stravinsky is a C major 7 chord.
Yes.
So anyone in the audience can pick that, I'm giving you all kudos.
Right.
Wow, that's another thing to listen to, right?
Yeah.
That's
And
great. Well, let's go to the third movement, and these movements, by the way, are played attacca. Correct, Ray? You're playing them attacca, right? So you're not going to hear a stop. In other words, you're not going to hear a paper rattling. So, so the third movement has a fascinating title: Flight Cessna N52805.
Right. Those are the call letters of a Cessna plane that the sponsor, we took a trip and we flew from Watsonville, California, all the way over to the Sierras into Yosemite. Then we flew down over towards the Nevada desert in one flight. And so this movement is basically essentially that flight situation, which is phenomenal. California is amazing. It's absolutely stunning.
So we'll hear just a little sample. I heard this without knowing that that's what it was about, and I thought, wow, I'm really looking at Yosemite from a real vista point or something. How did he do this? So it's very unique sound. Here we go. So this part right in here. Can you all count that? Can you tell what meter that's in? I think there are some shifts, but it's mainly in 7, right?
Well, that particular part raises in 4/4, but the part you're talking about is
the
7,
part that I'm looking for is in 7, right?
Yeah, the
so
first part.
so up your ante and count to 7, everybody. See if you can count to 7 and hear the C major chords.
Right.
Well, John, thank you so much for being here. Let's see if the audience has any questions. I just noticed that we're running out of time. I could talk all day about this, but any questions, you can unmute and ask John or ask Ray or ask Stephen. Any questions? I noticed some people have been putting some things in the chat, so you can also look at your chat for additional comments. But questions for John? Oh, don't disappoint.
Don't be shy.
Hi, this is Kate Cummings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay, Kay, it's so lovely to hear your voice.
I want you all to know that I have climbed to the top of Half Dome. And John, that's your next gig. I love you. I've climbed to the top of the lower falls also. Yeah, Yosemite's been on my bucket list as a Fresnan.
Awesome.
Okay, we have our challenge, everyone, from Kay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much, John, for being here. It's been a delight to have you and hear a little bit more about your ideas about the piece and learn a little bit more about you and what you're about and what you're trying to do in the music. And I hope that this Inside the Music helps everyone with their experience of the absolutely wonderful program that the Fresno Phil is doing this weekend. And I hope it inspires you to get tickets for the wonderful additional concert, which is coming up on February the 14th. Any closing remarks, Ray or Stephen?
I would actually like to say that the program will also, my piece will be accompanied by the images by Bill Roberts, who's a former journalist and now photographer. So there'll be images with the piece as well. Just wanted to make sure to include that.
Thank you, John.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I hope everyone, it's going to be an amazing weekend of music, images, lots of great stuff. So we hope to see you all there. And
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.